Good evening. I'm Epstein, and here we are with your Spider ETF stock market wrap-up. And this wrap-up is for the evening as we're sitting here now on what? This is going to be Wednesday, the 23rd of August, 2023, debate night. Well, that's the second event. The first event was what happened with Nvidia. So let's do this first. Let's take a look at some numbers on Nvidia just to get this out of the way. Earnings per share, 270 versus an estimated 209. They fired on every cylinder. So it didn't matter where they were in their old gaming, if they have anything in the cloud, everything was firing at one time. Revenue beat. They were expected 11.22. They got 13.51. Big move. What about this gross margin of profit? 72.5%. Can you imagine this? I can make an item for, in theory, 28 cents and sell it for $1. Whoa, that's pretty good. They announced a buyback of stock of $25 billion over time. They didn't say how they're going to buy it back, the program yet, but it's coming. It won't all be at once. And their forward guidance, blowout. They are locked up another $4 billion in their size. That's what they came out with. So as you can imagine, the stock took off. Let's just take a look and see what we've got. This was the close of business today. I'll bring you up to date here in a minute. And you finish right here at the 471. You popped as high as 516 in the aftermarket. You're back down around 497 as we're talking. So let's come back here and I'll get to all that in a minute. The other markets up a bit. I want you to look at Tesla and understand what Nvidia probably is about. Their point in time in history is they're the only game in town for what they have. They're a hardware manufacturer of a chip that nobody else has, and they've got a big lead. Duh. Tesla, how many years back? Nobody doing the electric cars. They've got it. They still have the pricing power that GM, Stellantis, Ford doesn't have. Think about that. So the AMDs, the Intels, I know people will say, well, you got to buy them if this is that good. That isn't so. Number two, when you have the only product, what happens is people line up for it and they put in orders probably more than they really want. They want to get on the book. I'm going to get it. Example, the new Corvettes. All right. Buddies of mine got in line. Did one of them take the car? Not one. The price increases went up so much they backed away and they said, hey, I've got one that's already 1 year old. I'm not spending $70,000 more for this car. Well, that starts happening with the chips to a degree. I mean, it's just the way things work. At the end of the day, what attracts more are higher prices, and they come on. But in the meantime, just like Tesla, it takes time for that technology to catch up. Example, aren't all the auto manufacturers now, including out of China, making EVs? What about the monsters that are in China? They're doing more cars than Tesla. So it starts happening. That's the point. But for the time being, this is a story, a great story for Nvidia. The over-under, 10%. What do I mean? Bull bear bets the market was going to move, drop 10%, go up 10%. From 471 to the 516 level. Do the math. Why did the market stop there? I can tell you right now. That's where the option players were taking money off in the aftermarket. I mean, it's not hard to figure these things out if you've been around it for a while. Now, this will obviously permeate through the day tomorrow, and then very quickly, the market is going to turn its attention to Jackson Hole. It's not just Fed Chair Powell. You've got central bankers galore lining up to be giving speeches, to be interviewed, to talk about what they see coming on. Pay attention, but give Nvidia the breadth that it deserves. It's going to be a powerhouse in the morning, but that dies off. Now, did this change the idea that I have that the stock market as a whole is still vulnerable for September? Not at all. And we'll hear that type of talk and these things. A week from now, you won't even remember what Nvidia did. I swear to you, it's just going to be that way. I'm not saying it won't be higher. That's not what I'm saying. It's a different game. Now we got to wait for another quarter. That's the point that I'm making. So when we come to Nvidia, You can see where you're at. Like I said, it got all the way up here in the aftermarket. It's back under the 500 level. The trend is up going into the report. The market over the 18-day average, everything pointing up. The resistance has been hit. It was the 478 level. That's the upper Bollinger Band. It'll be higher tonight. I didn't look to see where it's at because my charts, I don't pay attention to the aftermarket the way other people do. And the reason is it can go to 516. If it's not that print on the New York Stock Exchange, my charts won't show it. This is the information from the exchanges, not the aftermarket. Do you understand that? So you always got to pay attention to those things. I'm looking for a market that is now overbought, going to give you a pop. We'll see if it fights at the Bollinger Band tomorrow. Rivian, I'm still looking for the market to get down to wherever that comes in, that 200-day average, and that to me is the important number. Now, if it clears that and gets under it, then the 1799 to 65 levels come in. But right now, that supports the 1930 level. When I take a look at UGA, the gasoline fund, so far still no seasonal to the upside, and we're getting late. The seasonals to the upside in gasoline have historically ended, according to the service I use, More Research Center. You want to go there and see their website, the 28th. So I'd be very careful. That's August 28th. When I look at XLF, the financials, now you've been a few days underneath the 200-day average and you're embedded. Total target, if the market drops further, 33.37 to 33.52. I always find it dangerous to sell under the first time that you get under a 200-day average, but everything's still bearish on this chart. In the industrial sector, you take a look and see how the market's popping. Now, before I go any further, because I know I have your attention, obviously tonight, my night tonight's going to be pizza, salads, bringing them into the house, watching the debate, and we'll see how the Republican parties do, because this is the last hurrah for a lot of them. If they don't do well, their donors are going to go, hey, you've made your point, you had your 15 seconds of fame, 15 minutes, whatever you want to call it, and they'll be gone. All right, so that's what tonight is about, who's going to be gone. Tomorrow, part of the air gets sucked out because today was about Rudy Giuliani and a couple of the other gentlemen turning themselves in at Atlanta. And we're going to see the mugshot, I guess, of the president tomorrow. I saw a couple today on national TV, so I guess we're going to get that. Why not? That's interesting. Here he's running. He's going to suck the air out of the room tonight. And that's just going to keep that picture, whatever his mugshot is. Can you imagine how many times we're going to see this over the next year? It's going to be pretty insane. You know it and I know it. Now, I need your help before I go into the other charts. Not an ad here or anything at this point. I want to know what markets you want me to cover after Nvidia, because tomorrow I'm not going to cover Nvidia. I'm going to take it all off, put up something new. If you're going to send me anything, you just write me here on the YouTube channel. That'll be great. But, and there's a but, I'm not going to do something obscure. I want something that the general population wants. My subscribers know, my paid subscribers. You want me to do a special chart for you, I do it. I make a certain amount of time each day. You can write me. I create a 35 to a 1-minute video, and I review the whole thing for you and send it right back. That's part of the services that I offer. But for the broad public, no, I need a little more help here. Okay, appreciate it. All righty. So as we take a look, you see you're lost the embedded reading. You got a 23 reading. So the odds favor, as bad as the PMIs in Europe came out and ours came out today, this market wants to act like a rally. It either re-embeds tomorrow by dropping right back that red line under 20, or the odds favor that you're not going back under this low before you get up to wherever the 18-day average intersects with price. That's my guess. AMC, I think my $2 call over and over 6 months has been on the money. I'm done. I don't know what I'll do. I'll cover it for a bit more. I want to see when they come in with their reverse split, what it does, but then I'll probably move this away. Enough with AMC. In Coinbase, all right, if we can lose the embedded reading, maybe it too is ready to get back up here. In other words, Rivian is liable to make that the rising tide lifts all ships. You just might get that, all right? So a lot of these markets that have been battered and beaten down could get some short covering. Do I think their trends are changing? I don't. But I'm very aware. And I have told my paying clients, my subscribers, hey, I want a very minor position over the next 48 hours from this point, right now. Why? I don't know what's going to be said over the next 2 days now at Jackson Hole. I don't want to be in a surprise. I have a theory you don't go through major reports and stand in the way of a freight train. Why? Because I've done it and I've been run over time and time again. And you can't get out of its way. You don't jump fast enough. So what I'm saying to you is so simple and so easy. I wait a little bit and then I get aggressive again next week in the markets. I already know that's the game plan I'll be with. In the home builders, so this was the break. You never did embed. You're getting a bit of a correction. The trend is now up, but the bias is down. So the logical thing is if the market can rally, it gets back towards that 18-day average to figure out what it's done. Look at how narrow you got here. When you broke out, you made your move. It's over, done. Now that market can restructure. On the energy sector, so we keep hearing about all this extra supply coming on the market. You know, now I'm hearing, I read it was 1 million barrels a day that they've gone up in Iran. I heard another report today, it's 500,000. Does it matter? I don't think so. I have no idea. You did hear the head of the Wagner Group, Brzezinski, I think that's his name, that he was killed today as they shot down or somebody shot down a jet. There were videos of it and everything. Wouldn't it be interesting if he wasn't on the plane? If he's not on the plane and I were Putin, as Putin, I'd go in hiding because this man's going to come for you. You went for him. He won't let that go undone if he's alive. But I was thinking about that because everybody's going. Until you have the bodies, you don't really know what you've done. And these guys are sly. And he made up, he said everything's fine, and then he killed them anyways. He is a killer, Putin, okay? I mean, anybody that's going, remember the people in London with the poisonings and so on? You cannot stand up to this man. And it makes sense that he killed him because he had to send a message to the oligarchs, which are not happy with him right now, the elites, which are not happy, and his generals, which aren't happy. This war didn't go the way that he thought it would. This should have been over. They should have already conquered Ukraine and the power for the world to see of Russia, well, it would have been there. Instead, it is like their lunar ship that went and crashed. And here's India, wonderful India, lands on the south pole of the moon. Come on. Russia, another slap in the face. Not very good. In the gold market, you're up to the resistance point of the 18-day average of closes. So this is an interesting point. You're not in a bear trend. You're not in a bull trend. Could the market rally more? Maybe. I think this was more short covering, though, in all the metals than anything else. I think you'll peak out if you can get to the upper Bollinger Band in the silver. Why is it going up other than short covering? Did China suddenly get better and they've enacted something to help their economy? No. They have been very, very absent from that. They tweak around the edges, as I said. They talk the talk, they don't walk the walk. But markets correct, and you're getting corrections in this market. Copper's the same thing. They didn't change their story, but you lost the bearish embedded reading. Unless it's regained, I'm looking for these moving averages as potentials to the upside. So it's not a place to be short. And that's how you learn to trade. Momentum often moves ahead of the market. I teach that in my enhanced Bollinger Band course. It's there for you. Now, TLT. You tell me where the market went up to, lost its embedded reading. The first goal is the closest main moving average. Ta-da! Need I say any more? All this in front of the Jackson Hole meeting, as you can imagine. Dollar index. Today, I'm the proudest guy there is. 5:15 in the morning. First of all, last night I'm telling my clients, I gave them a number to come out of their long dollar last night. 5:15, I'm recording my update this morning. That number had gone through by 6 points, and then it was just south the rest of the day. It had to do with, number one, why go into the FOMC meeting, the symposium. And it's not the FOMC, it's the Jackson Hole held by the Kansas City Fed. I said that wrong. But it's the Fed chair. I don't want to go into that. Number two, Nvidia is going to take over the day today. Don't like that right away. Number three, people are going to even up. There's a lot of guys like me that have been around this, got gray hair. We've done it all our life. The same things happen over and over. There's a time you want to go to cash. I wanted my clients, whether my numbers were hit or not, and I got lucky they were, sidelined. Happiest guy there is at this point in time. Now you got to be careful down here. The PMIs are so terrible, both service and industrial in the Eurozone, that going into today, before they came out, the probability of a rate hike was 60%, a 25 basis point hike in September. After they came out, it was 40%. You don't go by that. They change daily, but it gives you an idea of the sway. What would I teach you? If you've taken my courses, the first thing I teach you is you hit a Bollinger Band and you're short. That's where you take money off the table. You have not lost the embedded reading. To be totally out of your shorts, the red line's got to close over 21. Otherwise, on rallies, back up especially towards 192. I think the trade will take a hard look, and if it's still embedded, they'll sell it. But they won't have their orders in unless getting up there, you take a look. You don't want to sell anything, in my opinion, when you're losing an embedded reading. I don't see any sign it's being lost yet. So I put it all together. I come up with game plans for you, and you have them. And I want to remind you, we have all these offerings on our website. So before you finish with me, need you to write me on YouTube. If you want to subscribe and see my morning video and you use YouTube, see the blue button here? Hit it and subscribe. We get people that do this all the time. Then our offerings, they scroll down all the way. Free charting courses on a rune indicator, time and momentum together. Pivot points. Today was a pivot point day. I was telling people this morning, pivot point, and it turned out to be just that. The different brochures we have, the charting software programs, they're all here. So take an advantage. How do you get to this? You go to iraepstein.com, free offers. You can move your cursor right up here, give it a click, and away you go. I'm Ira. Sorry for being so long, but there was so much to talk about. I'll see you tomorrow.